I will assist in setting up the required structures and teach key people on how to navigate the Vancouver Stock Exchange, and I will act as your friend. My nominees would charge about $1,500 per month, which is standard. They would want a U.S. nominee for their options to avoid Canadian tax. With a handwritten fax cover letter, Weldon Smith then forwarded this memo to Banner's Secretary-Treasurer, describing how he planned to involve Banner International in these unlawful schemes. But the major objective of the plan was to ultimately default Banner assets into the Vancouver Shell Company, following which it was clear I would be got out of the way. I would soon make a formal complaint about these frauds and schemes to the California Department of Corporations, known as the DOC. The complaint was against Global Strategies of San Francisco, which sponsored the Banton schemes with Weldon Smith. The DOC then started an investigation on Global Strategies with this notice to me from its agent, Mauricio Cox. Dear Mr. Requa, this is in response to the complaint you filed with the California Department of Corporations. A regulatory examination of the above-referenced broker-dealer has commenced. Please be assured you will be informed of the department's findings upon conclusion of our review. Thank you for bringing this matter to our attention. Very truly yours, Mauricio Cox, Supervising Examiner, Securities Regulation Division, Department of Corporations. After this, I began receiving telephone threats from Stevenson Smith and their ally David Enright, who left the following message on Banner's voicemail.
You have yourself in trouble with some very solid and extraordinarily rich people. In fact, you could categorize as big trouble. Let me first, are you aware that a private investigating firm has been hired to research every aspect of your past business, personal and professional dealings in at least 3 states? And Stephen, this in concert with the activities that I intend to do here, since you refuse to honor your contractual obligations to me, don't bode well for your future. Either your professional or your personal future. And Stephen, none of us, I repeat, none of us are frightened by you or your threats of lawsuits. You don't have enough money to sue these people. They have plenty to take care of you. So, to use a phrase, eat shit and die.
At the time, my mother in Utah also got threatening messages on the phone that resulted in her making a note that she gave me when I visited her in April 1993. My mother wrote as follows: Stephen is getting in trouble, Mafia. Stephen Requa, an awful, terrible business. Shareholders in Banner Company. By this time, it was clear to me that both the SEC and the DOC were going to suppress the complaint against Global Strategies. I then went to the Salt Lake City FBI, where I met their agent Jim Cross, to whom I gave all this evidence. But he was immediately taken off the case, and I was redirected to FBI agent Steve Collins. In a recorded call, Agent Collins returned to a London investigator a few years later. He said the following.
Stephen Requa, yeah.
You're aware of Stephen Requa, right, okay. Right, Steve is planning to publish a book at some stage. He's already sort of got a few of the chapters knocked out. We're thinking of publishing it. We're most interested, as you were one of the people mentioned in the book, in basically asking you what you know about it.
Oh,
Really about the whole case and Steve.
I can't believe you guys would consider publishing anything that he wrote.
Well, it's a very interesting story. That's the point, you know.
If you were going to print anything that this guy has to say as fact, then you got some big problems.
Sorry, so what was your name again?
My name is Steve Collins.
You're Mr. Collins, okay, right, because I did actually leave a message for 3 of your other colleagues as well. So what did he actually ask you to investigate?
Oh, it was something to doing with some kind of mining rights or something like that some company of his called Banner or something had, and somehow he felt that these mining rights or something were improperly taken away. There was no jurisdiction for the things he was talking about in the state of Utah, and I told him that I didn't have authority to investigate things that didn't happen in the District of Utah, and that was the end of my conversation with him. And I investigate cases that happen in the District of Utah.
Right.
I don't investigate things that happen in California, and everything Mr. Requa had to talk to me about happened in the state of California.
Right.
So I recommended that he talk to either the Securities and Exchange Commission or the FBI in California.
Right.
Well,
But basically, that's your total involvement with the whole case.
Yeah,
Yeah.
about 10 minutes on the telephone with him, and ever since then I've been a co-conspirator because I told him, I sent him to another, I said, here, either go to the FBI here or talk to this other agency, but there's nothing I can help you with here in Utah.
But I tell you what might help, because there's so many facts kind of flying around, or facts in inverted commas.
I don't think there's any facts flying around.
Right. Well,
I don't
facts in
believe there's
inverted
a single
commas.
fact flying around from that guy's mouth.
That Collins is lying here is obvious because what I spoke to him about could not possibly have been about my company losing any mining claims. That hadn't happened yet. It didn't happen until some months later in July. As I have narrated in detail in my book, what I did speak to Agent Collins about was about Banner's corporate records that a family member had given him a copy of. So in May 1993, Collins was all set up and prepared to do something covert about me and Banner. He knew all about the company records, and I easily figured out that he had a scheme going to falsify our public records in the Utah State Corporation's office. It was part of a false arrest scheme on me that failed after I filed some backup documents of some of Banner's papers with the county recorder's office. Collins had wanted me to come in and see him, but when he heard that the scheme was going to fail, he abruptly hung up. Pepper refers to the same records I had discussed with Collins.
I have gotten copies of financial records. So we do have a complete set of the corporate records now of Banner. So you are vindicated, Steve.
Great.
And don't go away today without getting a copy from me so that you can wave them and say, see, I told you I didn't make it up.
In recent years, I've also got solid evidence for my conclusions about these covert and criminal FBI operations then in progress. A media investigator from London got the following recorded comments from my family's parish priest in Utah.
I'm doing some initial investigation for the possible making of a TV documentary concerning the Banner International fraud.
Oh, okay, I'm not willing to make any statement.
You're not prepared to say anything at
I'm
all?
not prepared to say anything. I mean, no.
Well, any particular reason?
Yeah, because I told the FBI will say nothing.
The FBI?
Right.
Yeah. I had it down on the list that the FBI were involved, but I didn't believe that, so you've now confirmed something that's very important.
Okay, well, that's as far as I'm willing to go.
Yeah.
If you need any more, I think you have to contact the American Embassy.
The same investigator also got the following comments from San Mateo County Sheriff's Captain O'Keefe.
Investigation of this because of the, I believe it was because it involved crossing state lines. And
Yeah.
the FBI was looking into some possible, some alleged misappropriation of funds. I believe that's how it got started. I would also refer you to the FBI for that end of it because I have no idea about that case. I know they were involved in it. I'll tell you what, let me get your number. I have to pull my old case file. I had a case file, but it's in archives. It's been a number of years now. But this is what I will do for you, though. I will research that case file.
Yeah.
And we'll get a hold of it. I know there's some names of people in there.
After the events in Utah with Agent Collins, I then found out that the Bureau of Land Management, known as the BLM, in Reno, Nevada, was falsifying their records on Banner's mining claims in a plan to invalidate them. This was part of a claim-jumping scheme to defraud Banner's gold claims, where major discoveries were beginning to emerge. When I recovered the receipts for the annual mining claim fees that we had paid, but which the BLM had not credited, that scheme also failed. At that time, I filed a cease and desist notice, shown here in Reno, against the BLM. A list of all the irregularities in U.S. federal, California, and Utah state agencies shows the phenomenal extent of this well-organized operation transpiring through these agencies in criminal hostilities against my company and myself personally. In California, I was arrested for traffic citations I had already appeared upon and paid off. In my book, I write in detail about these events that include my being assaulted in court by San Mateo deputies to silence my pleadings to an evidently non-corrupted judge.